Welcome to the Business Women Australia podcast show, the podcast that brings together industry leaders to discuss the latest trends, insights, and strategies. So sit back and relax. Let's get inspired by the amazing women who are shaping the future of professional women in Australia. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And welcome everyone to the Business Women Australia podcast show. I have a really special guest today who has a massive passion for supporting small businesses in Australia. She is the Chief Revenue Officer for Thry, and you have a lot of responsibility for all brands that are Thrive Australia, New Zealand, and portfolios with White Pages, Yellow Pages, Thrive Agency, True Local, Thrive Data. Elise is committed to helping small businesses succeed in a demanding landscape. And according to Elise, the most rewarding part of her role is hearing from small business owners to tell her how much their lives have changed since digitizing their businesses with Thrive and resulting in more time to give back to what they love. Professionally, Elise is most proud of how invested she is in her people and supporting employees within the Thrive organisation. And personally, she could not be more prouder than of her two boys, Brody and Cooper. Elise is a GICD accredited Australian Institute of Company Directors and has completed Harvard Leadership Program. So welcome, Elise, to our podcast. There's a lot of information on you out there of how much you've achieved.
And thank you very much for having me. No, great to be here.
And you know, we're going to get right into it because, as we know, anyone in business has very limited time and we like to get things moving.
Absolutely.
So, I just want to start with, you know, you've worked with a lot of small businesses and we also have a lot of Australian women in business. What do you think is their biggest challenge?
I think for women in business and anyone in business, and even sort of me personally, is things are getting more and more complicated over time. I think we are connected 24/7, whether it's via emails, whether it's via kind of people contacting us outside of business hours. And I think our expectations of wanting to be perfect and wanting to deliver great customer experiences and being always on creates a lot of pressure for, I think, anyone that runs sort of a business. And I think we want to be brilliant mums and we want to be brilliant business partners and we want to be great at our job and great at our personal life. And I think sometimes we're probably our own harshest critics. People understand that things aren't always perfect. And if someone's emailing you at 7:30 at night, they're probably not expecting a small business owner to jump online and respond to them that second. But I think we tend to put that pressure on ourselves. And I think sometimes we've really just got to give ourselves a break.
You know, with that, I think a lot of people also confuse that work-life balance a little bit. You know, we're so focused on it that we think it's got to be 50-50. And, you know, some days it's 80-20, sometimes it's 40-60. It's, you know, we've got to be lenient on ourselves that, especially mums, we give so much to everyone else.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think as a mum and as sort of a woman in business, I think we need to really sort of be lenient to ourselves and lean in and ask for help and ask for support and really understand that we don't have to be perfect 24/7.
And create boundaries.
Correct.
My Definitely. Thing is I've had to learn to, if it's late, I switch off. I love you, but the answer is no. and it's really important. And, you know, but how do you think, you know, with that, how do you think business owners can get back to doing, you know, what they love and go back to their passion?
One of the reasons that I really love the role that I have is because so many business owners are feeling really overwhelmed at the moment. They've got technology that's evolving at a certain pace in the background. They've got customers that rather than just sending phone calls and emails are now expecting them to have live chat on their website or expecting them to be able to communicate with them, whether it's via WhatsApp, whether it's via digital channels. And I think for a lot of small business owners, that can be incredibly overwhelming. And I think what people don't realize is that there's ways to automate parts of that process so that you don't have to be on 24/7, that you can create kind of boundaries, and that processes can seamlessly work and execute in the background whilst you're at your son's soccer game or sitting down and having dinner with your family. And so I think even just reflecting on sort of a small business owner that I was speaking to last week, their goal was to be able to sit down. It was a husband and wife business, to sit down and eat dinner together, and really unpacking what it meant to be able to sit down and eat dinner together, and what all of those things that were keeping them occupied outside of business hours, and how we could support in kind of lightening that load so that the dinner was a possibility, and wasn't just a possibility once or twice a week, that they could actually sit down and be a family every night and enjoy those moments.
And I think with that, it's such a beautiful goal to have, because when you're in that essence of a small business and your focus is, we've got this list A, B, C, D, you get stuck almost on that hamster wheel of having to tick off all these tasks that, you realize, a really big task is having that home life and, being able to automate what you can.
Correct. And I think just as a small business owner, taking some of those steps sometimes can be incredibly overwhelming. And so I think being able to sit down with a small business owner and just try and solve one problem at a time. If that biggest problem is cash flow, because that small business owner still also is a mum and a family, and they're paying a mortgage on their house or their son and daughter's school fees, trying to just solve one problem at a time becomes a lot easier for a small business owner than trying to transform everything in one hit, which can be incredibly overwhelming.
And, we've got this digital landscape that we've all got to navigate, and people get overwhelmed, they get a bit confused. How do you think business owners should tackle that understanding and adapting to it now?
Whether people like it or not, sort of consumers and their customers are trained. They're dealing with large corporate companies that have got different sort of levels and service experiences that they're delivering to their clients. And I think for a small business owner, it really is trying to find someone to partner with that can help you solve the biggest problems that you have. When you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're concerned and worried about something and it's keeping you up, just trying to solve, I think, one problem at a time is probably the easiest way for a small business owner to take that step change, because it can be incredibly overwhelming to think about your entire business and how to drive efficiency and automation. And I think sometimes business owners almost end up in sort of a spaghetti string of lots of different hack solutions that they've tried to automate parts of their business or digitize parts of their business, and it actually just becomes more confusing for them in the background. So trying to find a way to just seamlessly tick off those big hitting problems that you have kind of one by one, and not to overwhelm yourself. But if you're spending 7 or 8 hours a week chasing people that haven't paid their invoices on time, how can you drive some efficiency into that process so it seamlessly happens in the background and you're not getting burdened down, going through the invoices on the dining room table, figuring out who's paid and who hasn't paid, and trying to just solve them, I think, a small step at a time will gradually allow you to kind of make that transition. And I think for a long time, large corporates had access to big tech infrastructure. They had IT departments. And I think now is at a point in time where all of those tools are available for small business owners to tap into. They don't need an IT department to help them sort of configure some of the steps within. But I think it is just having that sort of leap of faith in the first instance to be able to tackle one problem at a time.
And that's the thing is, we were talking earlier and you said that there's so many people that still have, the paper trails, the filing systems and things like that. So to be able to embrace technology and the digital world, all of a sudden it's taking those papers off your table. It's working in the back end, and I think that can also be a bit scary because people don't understand that, how that is so effective.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think it is, a business has been built to a certain extent, having all of those processes in place. So it's absolutely scary to make that step change. But I think doing it gradually and choosing the right partner and choosing something that's easy and simple to be able to do is really critical, because the last thing you want to do is do something that's going to burden you with more time in the background. So I think it is really making sure that you're kind of ticking those boxes off sort of one problem at a time. I was at an event in Queensland kind of a couple of weeks ago, and while we were at the event, one of the clients that was there, who's a client of ours and had taken a really long time to move away from having a business that had a job board. They had all of their jobs listed on the whiteboard. They'd assigned people to go out for the day. And whilst we were at the event, a problem had happened in the business, and they'd recently just made that sort of step change to starting to digitize some of those processes. He was able to solve that problem from his pocket with his mobile phone and be able to fix it. And it was after the event that he came up to us and said that had that have happened a couple of months earlier, he would have left the event. He would have gone back to the office. He would have been running around and frantic for the rest of the day. But it had given him an opportunity to be able to fix some of those problems that occur in a much more seamless way, in a much more sort of quick and efficient way.
100%. And, so what do you think, with that, what do you think they should be on the lookout for when it comes to seeking out these digital tools? Because there is a lot of overwhelm when it comes to choosing. So what do you think would be the best way that they can find what works for them?
I think it's really finding someone that will tailor something to you. I think there is a myriad of opportunity that a small business owner can tap into, from a business owner that's really concerned about how much they're spending on new business leads coming into the business and really wanting to find a way to drive some optimization. Maybe they're wanting to start to harvest all the leads coming in and start to remarket to some of those clients, and really finding what is that opportunity or pain point that the business has and really tailoring something off the back of it. I think for some businesses, it's just their presence online. When you go onto Google and look at someone's ratings and reviews and the feedback on there, and you see that someone hasn't responded to any of the people that have been kind of leaving feedback about them, how can they in a more timely fashion find out that someone's left them a review or had a problem, and give them the opportunity to be able to kind of respond it and improve their brand online? I think for every business, they almost have a different set of problems, and being able to tackle the biggest problems in your business is probably the most critical one.
Well, and I was surprised, but not surprised, because I always ask for more information, when I get to host a podcast. And one of the things that you said is that, 97% of customers read these online reviews, before they're making a decision.
Absolutely. And I think the vast majority of people know that things can go wrong as well. They know that a package can get lost in the mail, or that you may need to reschedule a job. But I think sometimes it's how you manage that feedback as well, and how you acknowledge it and respond to it is so critically important moving forward to the volume of opportunities that you're going to allow your business to have. And I think making sure that you showcase your business in sort of the best light is critically important.
And, and that's it. It's as much as a review can be bad, when it's handled professionally, it can actually quite well work in your favor too.
I was going to say the same thing. I think most consumers understand that things aren't always perfect, but I think being humble, acknowledging somebody's feedback, resolving it, and who knows, they're going on there and actually leaving some really positive feedback to say, actually, this was a really great experience. And whilst there was a couple of hiccups early on, they managed it with ease and kind of really seamlessly managed it. And I think people forget that it's not always the price of a product and service that determines the relationship that somebody has with a small business. It's the experience. It's the way you make them feel. I've got a local Pilates studio and a local coffee shop, and I am so incredibly wedded to them because I feel incredibly special. They send me reminders on my birthday. They give me free coffee vouchers. They do different little things over time that make me feel like I'm a really valid and kind of loyal customer. And I think driving that loyalty amongst your customer base and making people feel really special is just as important as delivering great product and service on the other side.
And I think, we're coming back to that point where people have realized, that just that little point of contact, that bit of visibility of someone being seen is so much more valuable than anything you can give in this world.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think most people would consider changing the company that they're dealing with because of the experience they had, not because of the tangible product that they're purchasing.
So I want to know, what is your top advice for someone who's looking at starting a business? Is it, because it is a really hard process for them to go through, and, and sometimes they just want to quit.
Yeah, I was going to say it is such a leap of faith, because there's obviously some security that comes from working in somebody else's business, and to take that leap of faith and go out on your own as a small business owner, especially if it's your first time owning and operating a small business, can be incredibly overwhelming. And I think people tend to go into business because they've got a passion for something. They open a Pilates studio because they love health and fitness and everything that comes from sort of healthy well-being. They don't necessarily create a Pilates studio because they want to deal with managing their presence online and building their website, having a CRM, emailing out the local community and trying to drive people in to get memberships. And so I think leaning in and asking for help off people when you need it is so important, because the reason you went into business because of your passion with the health and fitness industry, and you want to try and harness and focus all of your energy on that. And so I think getting help, whether that's from sort of tool providers and companies or from other people, is so critically important, because I think people so often think that they need to kind of go at it alone. Yeah. And then in the complete contrast, I've kind of been in my role for well, not the specific role, but with the organization for 19 years. And over that journey, there are hundreds and hundreds of small businesses that I've had an opportunity to go out and talk to in the first few weeks and months of opening a small business, and being able to follow them and watch them along that journey, and watch them turn up one day with some branded shirts on, or turn up a couple of months later and you see the branding on the truck out the front, and to feel like you've played sort of some small part in the success of that small business is an incredibly rewarding sort of place to be. And it's the reason that I really love my job, is being able to sit back and help people kind of make their dreams sort of turn into a reality.
And I love that so much, because, as you know, we have a lot of small businesses in our Business Women Australia community, and it is that same voice over again. It's like, what is the best thing to do? And it is talking to a person who can help that with that burden, because we're not, as much as we are Wonder Woman, we can't always do it all, and it's not always smart to do it all.
No, not at all. I think it can get so overwhelming, and I think there are so many different avenues of help and support out there that if you're a small business owner or a sole trader, leaning in and asking for that help and support doesn't mean that you're not Superwoman. Superwoman would absolutely put her hand up and ask for some support as well.
Exactly. And you know what? Taking that headache away, letting you sleep past 3 a.m.
Correct.
It's more valuable than any money you can make, to be able to have
absolutely
that feedback. And, because obviously I've looked into what you've done with Thrive, which is amazing. And I found a lot of people, when they're in a small business, it's the tunnel vision. It's that single lens of going forward. I need to do this. I need to do this. And, when small businesses come to you, it's, well, yeah, you do need to do this, but think of it this way. And you're taking them outside of that tunnel.
Correct. And I think people don't always need to have the answers. They're experts in their field. They're accountants or they're dentists. Their level of expertise is in the craft that they're so passionate about. And I think it is getting people kind of uncomfortable with thinking about things differently to try and solve some of those problems that their business has.
Exactly. So the last thing I do want to ask of you today is, with the small businesses, how do they get in contact with you?
So absolutely, they can join us at thrive.com.au if they'd like to find out more information, but they can also contact Business Women Australia, and we'd be very happy in the background as well to provide any information to be able to support them and their small business. We've got lots of business advisors available who would be more than happy to even just talk them through some solutions to some of those big hitting problems that they have within their businesses.
Fantastic. I can't wait to share this, because you are such an amazing person to talk to. And when you've got that passion of helping others, it really does. It doesn't just help them, it helps the next person that they talk to as well, because it all leads on.
Without a doubt.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us on this podcast. It'll be available on all good podcasting stations. Thank you, Elise, so much for joining me today.
No problems at all, Leanne. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.